going live, but we're not green yet, so okay, I get that. I get that.
Well, I know, I gotta take me a minute.
All right, all right. I show 11 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Kanako, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Barb. First agenda item here, approval of minutes, They've been circulated. Any questions regarding the minutes? Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
I would second that motion, but before I call for a vote, I would just like the record to reflect that trustee, it's Angel Valentin, right, was not here at the meeting. It says Wabash trustee Angel Valentin raised several concerns, et cetera, which creates the inference that he was here in my mind. I don't think it's necessary to change it just because of the content, but all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Ken. Next agenda item, public notice of meeting. Can we confirm that notice was given?
Yes.
Thank you. Affidavit. Now, I had considered moving agenda item, the hearing regarding alleged election law violations. I had considered moving that up. But since I do not see the candidate involved in that, I'm going to decline to do that. And let's just deal with our regular agenda then. What's this affidavit concerning voter list maintenance?
We do this before every election. We have to. The deadline's coming up, so we need to approve that. Yes, we have done all, the young gentlemen here have completed the list maintenance.
All right. Where do we sign?
We will sign right by your name. And then that gets sent to Indiana Election Division.
Is this
Explain what this is, just for the public? Or?
Indiana, we do voter list maintenance. We do voter, I'm turning it on and off. We perform voter list maintenance that's required by the state, and we completed it, and we have to certify that we have completed that, and we send that on to Indiana Election Division.
Well, maintenance is cleansing the record of people that aren't registered to vote.
Yeah.
Or deceased or incarcerated.
Yeah. And we have sort of an unusual situation in Tippecanoe County because of Purdue students. And just so the public knows, how do we address that?
Well, we have an issue with the Purdue students because the voter registration maintenance does not work correctly the way it's supposed to. If we don't get, the state sends out a mailing, and that mailing, if it's returned and undeliverable, then it starts a countdown. We receive it and it's inputted into the computer system, and it starts the countdown that if they don't vote within 2 years from the next general election, then it would go to cancellation. But parents, Purdue, like fraternities, sororities, homeless shelters, they don't return those cards, they just throw them out. So they never start the clock. So there is an issue with, so voters, Purdue students and others are never purged from the system.
Julie, is that what you meant when you said the system doesn't work like it's supposed to? If I may I suggest the system works like it's supposed to, but because of the facts associated with transitory students, it just doesn't work out very well for West Lafayette and the Purdue students.
It doesn't work well when that card is not returned through the mail saying undeliverable.
Right. All right.
So yes, you're correct. It's not the system. The system works when we have all the appropriate information.
When people do what the system anticipates they're going to do, or the post office. All right, any further questions regarding that? Vote center and satellite amendment. Tell us what that is, please.
Good morning. We're going to look at Resolution 14 of this year. This is the resolution that we pass every cycle to set the vote centers for the election coming up. I'll bring up a copy of the Election Day centers. That's the one we're on right now. So these are the vote centers we propose to use on November 5th. All these sites have been cleared with the hosts, and I submit this list to you for approval.
All right, Mike, and then the question would be, do any of these locations differ from our primary voting locations?
They do. We replaced the Klondike Fire Station with Connection Point Church.
And why did we do that?
Traffic and parking.
And what do you mean by that?
That we have observed and had feedback from our own poll workers to that the facility there probably could not handle the volume that we anticipate for this particular presidential election. And we don't want to be in any kind of impediment to the emergency services based there or the safe baby drop. So it's just probably wiser to move. Connection Point Church is right there at the intersection of Cumberland and 231.
Is that
It's
one of
about
the
a mile.
reasons that we don't vote at Fire Station 5 anymore, which used to be one of our top
One of
vote
the-
centers?
Yeah, we're across the street at Nazarene there. And that and the bays were always open there, and so all the equipment and the paperwork all blew everywhere. So it was just kind of not the best building to be in, and so we're just trying to find,
And that's the
a
only
solution.
change, Connection Point.
That's the
in
only
lieu of.
change on Election Day sites. We did change, I'll just it might bear mentioning, we did change from City Hall to the Tippecanoe County Historical Association History Center in the spring because of all the ongoing renovation in City Hall.
And that worked out just fine.
It's worked out just fine, and the mayor signed off on that, so. But all these lists, everybody on the list, all the hosts have already responded, and these are booked pending your approval.
And the county chairs have been kept in the loop. And
I sent the list to both of them yesterday.
I have not had any kind of interaction with them, but there was no change except for that one location.
Any other questions, comments?
I move,
Go ahead.
I move we approve.
I would second that. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Where do we sign?
While you're signing, I'll introduce Resolution 13 for the board to consider. This is the early voting schedule, and let me bring up a copy of that proposal. This is basically unchanged from the spring as far as locations. The hours, in fact, have been expanded just a bit. There are 308 contact hours available for early voting by this list. The one change we have moved, we are moving from the Black Cultural Center to First United Methodist Church a little further out on Mitch Daniels Boulevard there. That's the intersection of Mitch Daniels and US 231. This is a little address parking and space considerations. Again, anticipating a very heavy turnout.
Are you familiar with both of those locations?
Yes, very much so, yeah.
And so tell me why you would believe the one location is better than the other.
Size, parking, ADA accessibility. We also, I would mention, had a very fruitful conversation with Purdue Votes led by Mel Gruber. We met earlier this week in a roundtable, and we've engaged them to help us with that, and we'll get a little bit more into that later in the meeting. But they're aware of the change and are going to work with us to promote that availability to the student population over there.
And I see Mel in the
Mel's here,
audience.
Hi, Mel.
And how about stepping forward, if you would, please?
And I want to tell everybody, these are up at the table if you want a copy.
And Mel, I take it, and we've visited before numerous times over the years, I take it you heard what Mike said, and would it be fair to conclude that, at least for now, that this would be concluded Push the red button. Thank
Okay.
you. That you would conclude that this is a good change, this would work out to serve the Purdue community?
Yeah, we consented to we had a meeting about it and talked about the changes, and we're really committed, all of us are committed to working together to find the ideal locations on campus for voting in future elections, yes.
All right,
Mel,
thank you.
just as a matter of housekeeping, would you state your name and position for the
Oh, I'm
record?
sorry.
Yeah, I'm Mel Gruber. I work in the leadership office at Purdue University.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Thank you, Mel, I appreciate it.
Again, all these sites are already confirmed with the hosts, and they are expecting us pending your approval.
Do we have any other questions? I would move to approve the early voting schedule as proposed.
Second.
Any further discussion regarding that matter? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, it carries.
I'd like to introduce to the board the poll worker contract and oath for the 2024 general election. There's just a very few minor changes. I changed the language in the training section and the section dealing with pro rata pay for part-day judges to be a little more concise and succinct. And I made sure all the references to supervisor were cleared out and replaced with the word lead. There is no change in pay or assignments or statuses other than that. This is the same as it was in the primary with those few exceptions I noted. I would ask the board to approve the contract and oath for the general election, seasonal, and day of workers.
Does anyone have any questions regarding that?
More, I guess I'm going to bring it up because of this. I know this past election, we had some concern about people not showing up, the poll workers.
We did have a little bit more than we usually do. We will try to compensate, and of course, folks that no call, no show, we won't use again. But I anticipate that staffing will be, like we're so fortunate in this county, I don't think that we'll have, a tremendous problem filling all the roles.
Okay, and tied in with that, should we be looking at a change in the pay? Or
I continually compare ourselves to other folks, and we are at the high middle range. There are a few counties that do pay more, but I would say we're in the 15th, 20th percentile of pay for our workers. Now, that's for election day. Now, the hourly rate we may want to look at, but at this point in time, I don't think that's a stopper from staffing early voting. We only pay 13. I'd like to see us maybe in a couple of years bump that up a little bit more because you can work at McDonald's for $15 an hour. But I don't think that needs addressed this year. I feel like we're in line with counties our size, and that is not a reason people give me for not wanting to work.
You just answered or potentially answered my question. Would you conclude that the people, the no-shows, were they influenced by the lack of or the pay, or were they influenced by something else generally?
Generally, something else. I mean, no feedback on pay whatsoever.
Germany or Ray, do you have an opinion regarding that either way? All right. Anything different than what Mike said? All right.
Yeah, I think that, the spring was no shows across the board.
Yeah.
But I sense a new enthusiasm.
Well, yes, and I tell you,
so-
we have been blessed, I guess is a good term. We have a great deal of interest. I have a huge amount of first-timers filling out the application on our website, and so I know we're going to have some rookies, but I sense a good enthusiasm level in our community to serve in this way. And then some of our workers that we are familiar with have also recruited friends and family, and they think this is a good time to get them involved. And I don't think we're going to have any problems. I think that our county is very fortunate. We traditionally don't have a great deal of problem with staffing, and it was just, I think it was an alignment of the planets kind of thing in the spring with the absences. And we don't want to overcompensate too much, but we will have a standby list like we always do. I kind of exhausted my standby list this last time, but I'll probably double my list.
So, Mike, would you conclude that the ad that's on television and maybe that I hear on radio that we need poll workers is not accurate as to Tippecanoe County?
Yeah, I'm not sure where that's coming from, but we aren't in that boat like many
Fair
others are. I mean, you look at Lake and Marion and some other big counties, and they struggle. They have whole precinct boards not showing up,
All
We
right.
don't have that problem. But I think we take care of our folks and we compensate them. And people feel prepared. I get feedback from other counties. They don't feel comfortable because they don't get enough training and stuff like that. And I think we do things right.
Fair enough, thank you. Poll worker training dates, what are we up to?
We have to approve the contract. I move we approve.
I would second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
We're waiting to work with Microvote on setting those training dates. I don't have firm dates to propose to you, but they'll be, we're looking at the first 2 weeks of October. And
Those are online now, are they not?
no, they're
Still
live.
in
We do
person?
record them, and the people can access them online. I intend on continuing that. But we are still at the point where we like people to come in person, get their hands on the machines, even if they've worked before. It's just a good review. I think people learn well by doing rather than watching. And so I still like the engagement that requiring people to train in person brings us. So
All right.
I'd be resistant to go to an all online training. But I'm very pro putting the information out there online and having supplemental training online. But I don't think that this county would benefit from leaving any hands-on training.
Did we just merge into poll worker training dates?
That's where we're at. So we're waiting on a reply from our vendor, Microvote, because we have to work our schedules out together so they have representatives to assist with that. So I don't have a firm date to report on that.
All right. What's the next agenda item, resolution under?
I'd like consent to just read by title. Yeah, do I have that, Mr. Von der Heide?
I think that's where we are.
Okay, consent
And
just
you
to
might-
read by title.
might
Resolution
explain
11
that.
is establishing, it's just a housekeeping by statute kind of measure here. We are having central counting here at the county building, and we'll commence counting after 6 on election day. And excuse the typo there of the primary. But we do this every year. This establishes this as the central counting location for the county.
But
It
Mike, I'm
allows us
going
to
to interrupt,
process
forgive me for
absentees.
doing that, but it says counting. Please explain what is meant by the word counting as contained in the statute and the proposed resolution.
There's counting and canvassing. Canvassing means I'm actually tallying the votes. Counting means we can open the absentee secrecy envelopes and run them to the computer, store them to a card for processing after 6 p.m.
So is that count, if you will, an actual count regarding who voted for who?
No, it's a count of the number, it's a verification of the number of ballots that we have received and a processing, readying them for the canvassing
And that information is not available until when?
after 6 p.m.
And why, what's the relevance of 6 p.m.?
When the polls close, sir,
All right.
and we don't want to.
So this will have no influence on any type of reporting regarding, who's voting for who. Is that correct?
No, sir.
All right.
And just, previously, we couldn't really do anything with the absentee ballots.
No, we waited, we
Until
couldn't
6.
even open the envelopes until late, and,
and then
so we were
if-
here till 1 and 2 in the morning, but we remember those days.
Yeah.
But the General Assembly has allowed the processing and staging of the absentee ballots now.
And that's always done by an R and a D.
Yep, we have teams established for that, and we generally have, maybe, for this election, we'll probably have 4 teams to do that, so. And then, of course, we have the Microvote folks on hand for technical support.
All right. Any other questions regarding that or comments? I would move to approve the Resolution 2024-11 regarding processing, counting after 6 a.m. on Election Day absentee ballots.
Second.
Any discussion or questions regarding that? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Carries. Thank you.
Resolution 12 designating proxies for the various duties that are assigned to the actual board. Basically, this allows Germany and Ray to have the keys to the cage and maintain the security of the equipment. Again, an R&D here, folks, and it takes the place of, you're giving your proxy power to them to secure the equipment, secure the incoming traveling board votes, and then secure the incoming absentee votes and under Title III.
And we do that every vote
Yes,
cycle, is that correct?
we started doing this last year during the municipal elections because the General Assembly tinkered with the law a little bit, and we thought in an abundance of caution, although it was always our practice to allow the staff to do that, in an abundance of caution, we thought that the board should formally grant their proxies every election.
Yeah, and we normally it would be Randy and I that, as the board
Yeah, in a
member.
lot of counties, it is the actual board members, like say a small county like Knox, my friend Dave Shelton's the county clerk there, the R&D on the election board actually carry the keys. And they have to come in whenever their staff wants to get to the absentee ballots or put something away or whatever. They're both retired folks. That wouldn't really work for the setup we have here. Well, you can come in every day.
Hey, listen, I have,
But
He's a busy guy.
I know he is.
I'll add that in Indiana code, because Tippecanoe County is cut out, it says that you choose who to do those duties.
yeah. And we do this election by election.
Yes.
You don't just.
You're not
carte blanche.
blanketly just
Yeah.
turning over your authority, yeah. And it's for the very limited activities under Title III.
I would move to approve that resolution under 3-10 to designate proxies.
Second.
Any discussion or questions regarding that? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Resolution 16 provides for the use of electronic equipment to vote our traveling board folks. In times past, they had to vote on paper. It's a lot easier for a lot of the folks that they're visiting to vote on a device. A lot of them have maybe disabilities that don't allow them to fill out paper ovals very easily. Statute provides that we can allow them to vote on our electronic equipment and allow them to check in on, the e-poll books just like anybody else. It gives them a little bit more of autonomy. They don't have to need as much assistance on this.
And Mike, forgive me for interrupting again, but is this to facilitate accessibility to vote for people that may have some type of challenge, physical or
Yes.
emotional challenge?
Yes, sir.
All right. I would move to approve resolution approving travel board's use of election system.
Second.
Any discussion or questions regarding that? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Our last bit of housekeeping is we've had these in the past, and we'd like to have some greeters at some various sites this year that may be heavy traffic. Greeters will fill parts of the statutory role of election sheriffs, which we don't do in this county because we have a vote center county system. We don't really set up like a precinct. But sheriffs were always responsible for helping with the lines, basically directing traffic kind of thing. It's kind of a funny term to use in election law because they don't really have any law enforcement authority, but it was just in the old school, Old England common law kind of thought that they were just keeping order. So we would like to have some greeters or hosts. This worked well at Mackey Arena in 2020 when we voted all those folks. We've had it in the past at some of the bigger sites that, just greet people at the door. Yes, you're at the right place. If they had any questions, direct them to the right resource. These would be volunteers. They would not be an actual part of the election board, but we would like to authorize their use and qualify them under statute as set out in this resolution, and issue them credentials so we know who's legit and who's not legit. This particularly, I would think, is going to be aimed at when we do the early voting at the edge of campus there at First United Methodist, and probably some of the larger centers like the fairgrounds, in anticipation of the immense amount of traffic that we're going to have.
Now, these folks are coached up on what their
They're gonna be
duties and
trained.
responsibilities and what their limits are they not?
Yes, and they're gonna be-
also required to take an oath to perform those duties?
They will be by law,
in
yes.
an appropriate way? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? And we have used these folks before, and it's been helpful to the process. Is that right?
At Mackey Arena, we had a service fraternity. We're going to work with Purdue Votes for the First United Methodist Day. And then I'm looking at a couple of different service organizations to perhaps help with the fairgrounds. Not every site's going to need this, but I think it's going to be helpful at some of these sites.
And has that conclusion that it would be helpful, something that's been reported as part of the comments post-election that we get?
Definitely, and this came up in our conversation with Purdue Votes earlier this week too, in particular, maybe help with the students that understand vote-ready identification, vote-ready ID.
I would move to approve the resolution approving general election greeters.
I will second it. One question, do we do anything in terms of the partisanship?
Yes, the law will require us, and a lot of these folks won't have vote records, so they're going to have to self-identify, but they're going to have to be apportioned just as everything else is. We should strive for an equal number.
Any further questions, comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries, thank you. All right, next agenda item.
The next agenda item is hearing on the alleged campaign
I
violation.
think I would recognize Mr. Shank. I do not see him here. James Shank?
You want me to go out and
James Shank?
check the hallway?
James Shank? I think he could probably hear that, Joe, but thank you for offering. All right, let's go ahead with our hearing regarding that. Let the record reflect that he is not in attendance. Let's see, do we have some proposed exhibits?
Yes, sir, they'll be on
And
the
how are they
screen.
marked?
They'll be on your screen right now, and I can make the
That's
printouts
all right, I
afterwards.
can get by. I just want to make sure we establish some kind of record. All right, let's see.
The
Will all
statute,
those who will be testifying offering evidence stand and raise your right hand to be sworn?
go ahead, Ray.
Do you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that the evidence and testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Record will note the potential witnesses are sworn. All right, who's going to lead out on this?
I'm going to just quickly walk through some citations in the law so that we have our grounding. We're here on a disclaimer issue. Indiana Code at 3932.5 requires disclaimers to satisfy the requirement of being conspicuous and clear, and that's why we're here today. So you all have your own law books. We're here on the authority that the Indiana Code gives us to administer the laws within the county. So I just want to talk about the RV that is in question. The signage on
And
the
if I might
RV
interrupt you, it's not just an RV, is that correct?
Well, it carries this billboard signage on.
I'm aware of that, but there's also other issues
Oh,
involved.
that would be the
here.
second part to get to. Yes, but
Oh,
there,
okay.
yeah, but
All
yeah,
right, thank you.
we can lump it all together at the
Well,
same time.
let's start with
But
the
it's
RV.
two separate. Okay, so this is from his website that was launched in March. Is a picture of his vehicle there, and you can see there's no conspicuous signage visible from that angle on that. And that's in March, and this is from April 25th. This is over at the loading zone for outside the Black Cultural Center for early election day. Again, there's no visible disclaimer.
Zoom it in.
Sure.
So they can see there's.
And I
under
am-
that little red light.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So that's April 25th. This is May 1st here downtown. Let me zoom in for you here. This is at the corner of 3rd and Columbia, right outside the building. There's no visible signage there.
Now, just a point of order here. How are we identifying these as potential exhibits in this proceeding?
I have them numbered in my thumb drive here.
All right, thank you.
So I could introduce them by exhibit number if you'd
No,
like me to.
that's all right, that's all right. Please proceed.
Yeah. This is on election day, primary election day, over at the Klondike Fire Station. And I'll zoom in a bit, and again, this one's kind of a little more blurry, but there's no visible or conspicuous or clear disclaimer signage there. This is in late May, on the 25th, down here, on downtown. Again, from this angle, we don't see any kind of conspicuous lettering. This is the next day, down here at it was during Farmers Market on the 25th of May, and there's nothing visible there. I'm just trying to establish a timeline. This is in Indianapolis on the 14th of June. This was seen downtown outside the convention center and then later in June on the 27th here on Wabash Avenue.
Now, he has a wrap, or I think they would call it a wrap.
I think that's what they call it.
Around three sides of the vehicle.
Yes.
The driver's side, passenger side, and the rear of the vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm just seeing
Yeah.
from the photographs there. But
Now, in July, sometime between the picture I had there of June 25th and then late July, we have the addition of these handwritten disclaimers that are very small. They look to be like on some kind of transparent tape, written with a Sharpie or something.
What's it say?
But it's not clear or conspicuous to me, in my opinion, but that would be for the board to decide.
What's it say?
It says paid for by Jim for Indiana is what, when I walked up to it, that's what it says. Here's another angle from the same day, and I can't find it on this side, but it's right, it's in the vent, that's right. See, right, I guess, I'm trying to get to it so you can see. It's obviously, it's not conspicuous.
well, that's your.
That's my opinion. Again, that's my conclusion. That's for you to decide. Yes, I apologize. All right, there it is, and
That's in the vent there that
Yes,
is it indicated
yes.
by the prior photograph, or is that the same photograph that we were looking at? Just a minute.
there's a different photograph.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
And that's on the passenger
Then
side,
this-
looks
yes,
like. Is
and-
that correct?
Yes. And this looks to be from the back angle there, and there is, under that light there, you can see, you can read it pretty clearly there now.
And by the way, who took that photograph, if you remember?
That was office staff.
All right,
Other ones were sent by other people.
That would be.
okay.
Then here in August, still in August, we have this, down here at the farmer's market on the 27th.
And that's depicting the driver's side would be my conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Where's, is there any kind of a disclaimer on that
Yeah.
side?
Make it.
So it's a blur, right?
Julie, are you sworn?
No.
Thank you.
It's just above the cap there, the gas cap.
Right here. See that little white mark right there? Under the D, you go down.
Yes.
That's the disclaimer.
Didn't he have something in the left rear of his vehicle, kind of on the corner somewhere? Have I seen a picture? That's the disclaimer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. All right. Next picture. Thank you.
I mean, that's all the pictures I brought, so those are the,
Does anyone have any questions of Mike so far? All right. What else do you have?
this is a copy of the email that was sent out by Julie on April 3rd to all the candidates, and it reminded them of the disclaimer requirements and gave them the citation and code so they could look for themselves. Also, this was accompanied by a brochure from the Indiana Election Division explaining what the disclaimer requirements were and where to find additional information. I don't want to bother to read it to you. I think we're familiar. This is a reminder from the Highway Department of the county that told them where they could or could not put a sign. I just wanted to, that was just all part of it. And then they were also given notice from the Indiana 811, please don't, dig into the utilities.
But hasn't the county enacted
We
an
have.
ordinance to address problems associated with candidates putting signs
We have. and I
in
was
the
gonna-
right-of-way and wherever they want without permission from landowners?
Yeah, on July 15th, the commissioners passed
All
on
right.
second reading.
What else do you have, Mike?
Okay, sorry. Okay, so then that was in April. So, in April also, Mr. Schenk filed with the state of Indiana his campaign finance report,
Why are we interested in that today?
because he, in the finance report, describes the signage on the RV as a billboard. And you can see right there in this line here, let me blow it up just a little bit for you if I can.
And folks, if you have questions, feel free as we go, certainly. All right,
Whoops.
what else do you have, Michael?
There you go. 7 months of use of an RV as a field office, billboard, and transportation.
All right.
So he knows it's a billboard, knows it's, and so on the 8th of May, he was sent a notice of violation specifically spelling out, this was issued the day after the primary.
How was that sent to him?
This was sent by USPS first-class mail in accordance with provisions of Title IV, the Administrative Code of the State of Indiana.
All right. What else do you have? Thank you.
It was all, this is just a document, I have 7 or 8 emails that were in on this day, I'll just highlight this one. On the 4th, that he was engaging Germany about the signage, and I just trying to show that he understood that this was something that we were trying to get him to rectify.
I don't think the statute refers to knowledge, does it?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Here's another one from Germany on June 6th, specifically again spelling out the mobile sign lacks the required disclaimer.
So that's at least the second notice, is that correct?
That's like the 4th, because we have the letter, we have the letter of the 5th. Well, we have the letter of the 5th that specifically, 5/8 that specifically spells out. And we have the email of 6/4 and the email of 6/6. So I guess that would be the 3rd. On the 21st of June, he was sent a letter offering to resolve. We notified him that if you correct the concern with your disclaimer before our next meeting, scheduled for June 27th, no further action is required. Otherwise, the matter will be taken up by the board. We advise you to consult an attorney familiar with election law to best preserve your rights and understand your responsibilities.
All right, thank you.
And that was sent by email and USPS first-class mail in accordance with Title IV. On the 24th, we went ahead and issued a summons for him to appear that Thursday.
Thank you.
On the 5th of July, Judge Person issued a summons for today's meeting to give notice.
Let the record reflect it. It is approximately 11:35, and it appears the candidate has walked into the meeting room.
On the 8th of August, Ms. Schenk sent another email inquiring about the violation. And on August 2nd, he sent an email, accidentally appears to me, to Julie, and which was forwarded to the rest of the board, asking for disclaimer stickers to be made.
And forgive me for interrupting, also let the record reflect it. It's about 11:38, and the candidate has walked out or left the meeting room. And he has dropped in front of Julie Roush a sealed envelope, obviously containing some type of written material. Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
Go ahead.
On the 2nd of August, we notified the candidate of a second violation on disclaimers for the distributions he was making at the 4-H fair. They did not include a disclaimer. On the same day, August 2nd, this would be the second violation, a summons was given setting that hearing for this time of the right now, for that we were already taking up the RV, so we were just going to consolidate this. So that was the summons issued for that. Let me show you a couple pictures of
Mike, how
those.
many more exhibits do you have?
As many as you want.
All right.
I'll wrap it up. That's one of the 3 handouts that was being distributed at the 4-H fair. I'm not going to, unless you want to see the others, I'm not going to go to that. So, but they do not
But
require
have we
disclaimers.
given him notice regarding problems with his lack of disclaimer on material that he distributed at 4-H fair?
That notice was given on August 2nd. August 2nd, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
And, go ahead. I mean, at the hearing in court on before Judge Person, it was also brought up there too.
All right. So would it be your conclusion that he has noticed that there's more than just his RV, that it's a problem because with his campaign materials because they lack disclaimer?
Right. So, in Judge Person's order of the 6th, the circuit court judge affirms the county board has the authority to investigate complaints of election law.
All right. Thank you.
I have some other case law, but I'm not going to introduce that unless you have more questions.
I think that's a legal issue as compared to the factual issue that we're here to consider today. And now, do we have any questions from board members of Mike?
Just to make sure it's clear, we sent him multiple notices, and including other candidates. Here's what needs to be done.
Yes, sir.
And we sent him, and he has contacted the office staff on occasion, and there's been communication between him and the staff on what our expectations
Yes, sir.
are. And in terms of, we were going to hear this at our last meeting, which I forget the date at the moment, but it was a few weeks ago, and had sent him, we thought, notice, but he claimed later that he hadn't received notice and was unaware that we were going to try to have a hearing previously.
You're referring to the original, the first hearing was set for June 27th.
Yeah.
And he did have notice, and Germany can speak to that. We sent it both first-class mail and via email. He was responding to other emails that were sent in the same time period, but it was just, and I'll let Germany elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, so at the time of the notice that was sent out to him, he'd also sent in a couple of public records requests. And so he responded from the same email that he responded to the public requests. So he did get that notice as well, via email and mail.
And then when didn't show up for the June 27th hearing, then the procedure was to get the county attorney involved and get a subpoena issued out of.
At first, we didn't involve the county attorney because it's pretty mundane procedural. Just you report to you make application to the circuit court judge to enforce a judicial summons. He accepted the application, approved the application in an order of August 6th, and then, so he issued the summons that he had to appear.
Germany, do you have anything else to add?
I don't, except that we also didn't mention that we did speak with him not only in person and by email, but also on the phone. He was noticed as well of the violations on the phone as well. I did speak with him when length about it. So I'd like to add that.
He has contended at several levels, and including one in a phone conversation with me, that there is a due process violation, according to him, because he hasn't received notice of what our expectations are and things like that. And
That's not true in open
Forgive
court.
me, let Kent
well,
ask his question.
is there any truth to that?
I would characterize that as a no. Even if you just want to disregard the volumes of written communication by email and first-class mail, he was advised in open court.
Yeah. So now he obviously has walked in and walked out, or at least that's my observation, and he's put down something here to Julie. My initial inclination is we ought to see what that is, but
I'm not sure how material it is, but we're going to deal with it sometime, and so let's address it now.
Can I ask Germany a question?
Yes, certainly.
Germany, when you first talked to him on the phone, to talk to him about the lack of disclaimer, what did he tell you?
He informed me that he did have disclaimers and that he was unsure why we were inquiring about it. And, this was puzzling to us because he'd been noticed several times before about the complaints, and then he calls me and doesn't understand why he's been.
And Germany, disclaimer problems frequently come up as part of the election process, do they not?
They do.
And would it be your conclusion that when candidates determine or learn what is required of them, that they do what's required by the law? Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And would it also be fair that we haven't seen opposition to following the disclaimer requirement such as this circumstance. Is that correct?
We have not until now, no.
All right.
We have 100 candidates on the ballot. This is the only one that we're having a disclaimer problem with.
But this comes up every election
It
cycle,
does, but
it not?
most of them, I mean, I'll just use the example from the June 27th. Most of them, like Mr. Carson, just say, oh, Mayacopa, tell me how I can fix it.
And by the way, he is out campaigning, and he made sure that I saw his material.
Well, that's what
and we had a very cordial
our mission
conversation.
is to educate, and if he was here and had stayed here, I mean, I'd still, the staff's hope is that he would just accept our offer, agree to the admission, and come into compliance. That's all.
Would it be, Germany, would it be a fair conclusion that this has required an incredible amount of time on staff part?
It certainly has, yes.
And is it a distraction from your general duties, helping to administer elections?
That and between the records, copious amount of records requests, yes, it's been very, very cumbersome.
All right. Are there any other questions of the witnesses? And by the way, exhibits, how are we going to publish or retain these exhibits which have been and are admitted as part of the evidence in this proceeding?
It'll be stored on the county website. We can print out a document for the public records file upstairs that people can inspect anytime. It's available by public records request.
How will they be identified?
They're identified in numbers like, the pictures have code numbers like one.
No, I see the numbers and all that, but I mean on the website, how would they be identified that people can review them if they choose?
These won't be posted to the website. The ability to request paper copies or come in for inspection will be there, but we don't generally post documents like this on the website.
Well, I would hope the general public doesn't start bombarding you with requests. I take it we'll provide these to anyone that requests. Is that correct?
That would be the law.
All right. I think it's time to call the issue, if you would. And I would move that just for information, I think we want to deal with this in two different ways, and I'll certainly hear suggestions. I think we want to deal with the preliminary issue. Do we believe there is a violation of the disclaimer statute, election law, if you will? And then potentially, as maybe the next part of the process, we decide what we're going to do about it. Would it be a fair way to handle it?
Yes.
I would move that we conclude that the candidate, James Schenck, has violated Indiana Code 3-9-3-2.5 by failing to have disclaimers on his election materials.
I'm going to second that. I'm going to say the portion of the statute says a communication described in subsection B, which is what we're doing, must contain a disclaimer that appears and is presented in a clear and conspicuous manner to give the reader or observer adequate notice of the identity of persons or persons who paid for and, when required, who authorize the communication.
I would withdraw my motion, and I would move to determine that the candidate, James Schenck, has failed to provide a disclaimer, to wit, a communication described in subsection B that provides a clear and conspicuous information to give the reader or observer adequate notice of the identity of persons who paid for and, when required, who authorized the communication.
Okay, and I withdraw my previous second of the motion that you withdrawn and second the one that you just gave.
All right, I think we're good then from a Robert's Rules point of view. Any discussion regarding that motion?
What's his communication say?
I guess that would be appropriate to consider before we further vote.
Mike, what is the law on billboards versus small signs?
Small signs, the statute spells out exactly what they consider a small sign. They're in 393.2.5. The font size of 12-point type satisfies requirements for yard signs, posters, flyers, newspapers, magazines, and
Ray,
mailings.
would you please come here
and
help us out for a
And
moment?
then the rest of anything else, like a billboard, a wall sign, a building sign, a vehicle, would not be covered under that clause. It would go back to the clear and conspicuous clause.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
I'm getting ready to make copies of that to figure out what, if anything, it does. Let's stand down for a moment, folks. While he's doing that, do we have other business that we can address?
I think we're,
That's it, unfinished new
unless we have
business.
unfinished or new.
We can touch base real quickly on the side ordinance that we have, that we endorsed and that the commissioners passed. This will promote a little bit of public safety, and I think it'll kind of reduce, the confusion that some voters have experienced. So we're going to help educate our candidates and our hosts by a mailer, and both through the U.S. mail to our hosts, and then also through our email list that the candidates sign up for. So we're getting that information out. We are working on starting to work on the staffing. That'll begin intensely now that we have approved the sites and the schedule, so we'll get going on that. So, and then it seems like overseas absentees are running a pace of previous years.
They're coming really, really, really thick.
Business is good?
It's good.
Business is good.
All right.
So, but that's kind of where we're at in the office.
Do we want to, public comment?
Well, one thing, when we were at our last meeting, it was suggested that we needed to do something to make sure the public could follow these meetings. What have we done in regards to that?
Well, you're seeing part of it up here. We worked all yesterday afternoon and this morning before the meeting to get the materials together and get it up here on the screen. This is being streamed
Streamed on Facebook and also YouTube
and recorded.
and recorded.
You want to speak to that, Counselor? I saw your motions.
Thank you so much for getting this done for the IT department and the board, so thank you.
Lisa Dole.
Yes, Lisa, don't
Yes.
count.
That's all right. We got you. All right, we're taking items just to be efficient as far as our time. Any public comments?
See you for sure tomorrow night.
Yeah, 6
Please
o'clock.
step forward and identify yourself. Thank you.
So I'm Lisa Dellum, 1016 Catherwood Court, West Lafayette, Indiana. I just want to say that I am happy about the IT, but I'm a little sad that we're not having any locations at Purdue to vote. I have 2 students at Purdue. I know that 2 children at Purdue. Marjoram City Hall is somewhat close, but it's still far away from the residence hall, so I just wanted to express that.
Point well taken.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Kanako?
It's Miss Burwell, that's all.
Barb Kanako, I live at 7026.
550 North in Lafayette. I am also the Washington Township trustee. I know this is too late to do anything about this election. I have had some casual conversations with members of the election board, but one of my concerns is the fact there is no voting location in the northeast part of the county. Since the 225 bridge has been closed, the closest for us, for example, where I live, which is just a mile from Buck Creek, I have to go Pretty Prairie Road clear over to Battleground, or I had to come into Lafayette. And I know there has to be something in that area that would meet the standards. We used to use the Shrine Club. I know it's now belongs to a church. I don't know if they were reached out to, but it's disenfranchising people out in that area.
That point's also well taken, just because, and as I understand, are they going to replace the 225 bridge? That doesn't solve it. Who knows? But point well taken.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? All right. This is in front of us now. It would not appear that, just from what I'm seeing so far, that there's any effort to comply with the disclaimer statute. I do believe, what's your thought about having this admitted as an exhibit?
I think the public should be aware of his claims.
And that's fair. I mean,
Falsehoods
I-
in it.
well, and he's not sworn, but all right, and
Yeah, what I'm worried about a little bit, and maybe I'm overreacting in stuff like this, when he indicated what I would call a due process violation, but no notice, not being told about what's going on. That's why I checked with staff to make sure that all of this material had been given to him. And as usual, our staff has done their job in a very appropriate fashion. I don't like publicizing claims about my characterization is going to be voter fraud, because I think that all of us are aware of that and what have you. So, but I just, this is his defense, and so I think it ought to be part of the public.
And certainly, I think it's discoverable as point of freedom of information requests. So, I mean, is there anything that's scandalous or otherwise personal information that should be redacted?
I just don't like that this is my name accusing me of doing these things and saying these things.
And I understand that you've publicly disputed some of the other statements that he has attributed to you. Is that? Yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's my
Thank you. Say that again, Julie. Please.
I don't personally want it posted only because I'm being accused of doing and saying things that are not true onto social media. Somebody wants a public record, they can ask for it.
That point is well taken, but unfortunately, as a public official, these things are public. And although I will acknowledge that when I've read several of the other things that he has said, I'm also offended by the idea that he suggests that as a board, we would tolerate some of the things that he is conducting. It's just, the allegations are, well, his fact checker is faulty.
I have corrected him and he refuses to change his story.
That's
I'm going to, just the broad charge of voter fraud offends me, because I believe that the R's and D's across the whole country are stepping up as citizens to conduct this in a good and lawful manner, and they're doing their civic duty. And the Tippecanoe County Election Board, which I joined over 30 years ago, at that time, because of predecessors, have done their job in a nonpartisan manner to uphold the integrity and make it as simple as possible for people to vote. We have had, in my lifetime, outstanding county clerks, all Republicans, all female, all who have not only intelligence but integrity, and Julie is in no way an exception to what her predecessors have said. So saying all of that, as the Democrat blessing the Republican clerk, she is a lady of integrity and a lady of outstanding competence, and these charges are spurious and false, but you got to have a thick skin sometimes.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Let's get back to the motion. It's been moved and seconded that the board determined that there was an election violation. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Show that that is unanimous. Now, what are we going to do about this? And
If I may, sir, The law provides for several options. You can take no further action, table that. You can refer to the prosecutor because a disclaimer law violation is a misdemeanor under Indiana law. You could also kick it upstairs. You could refer it to the Indiana Election Division. Or you could go to the Attorney General. Those are the options that are listed in statute.
We also, isn't there a statutory?
There are civil penalties also.
Civil penalty that we
Yes.
could impose a civil penalty, is
Up
that
to
correct?
$1,000, yes, sir.
Up to $1,000.
For,
right?
yes, for each violation.
For
The
each
RV
violation, and separate days would be a separate violation?
Not
would
in
that
this
be?
case, not in a disclaimer case. It's the object does not have a disclaimer. So the RV would be one, and any piece of material that he circulated would be a
And
separate
so
one.
potentially, what he was circulating out at the fairgrounds would be a separate piece and that
Yes, sir.
sort of thing. All right. And I'm going to just say what I think we ought to do, and we can debate that or discuss that. I'm thinking we want to refer it to the prosecutor, because that's an option. And this case is, in my mind, egregious. It's obvious, and the candidate has failed to comply even after being asked and requested and advised. So I think we would have sent it to the prosecutor. I also believe that it should be referred to the Indiana Election Division. Okay. Those are the two, in my mind, apparent obvious solutions. The third thought, and this is where I start to waver a little bit, is that we could or should impose a civil penalty as provided by statute. And having reviewed the election law, I believe we are well able to do so. However, as soon as we impose that, I believe that there would be a continuing problem and inefficient time that the staff is going to have to dedicate to this problem. So that is the real reservation I have about a civil penalty.
I have the same reservation about a civil penalty. I think it's a waste of time. We're not going to reach this gentleman in a manner that I think he would, try to comply with. I don't, my probably inclination is to leave it as is. I seriously doubt if the Tippecanoe County Prosecutor's Office wants to engage in this. I sit on the Public Defender Board, and there's not enough lawyers. Me and my family have tried to rectify that, but it hasn't worked out, I guess. But, I guess in all of this, I would probably lean towards sending it down to the state, because I really don't know what they're going to do, and that might be better than doing nothing. But I won't oppose sending it to the prosecutor's office, but do we really think they have the time to do it?
Would it be a fair conclusion that this would be a very unusual issue for them that would also require they dedicate inordinate time to this type of a problem?
At some point in time, they got to clean up the election code. It's just, there's inconsistencies in it.
Point well taken, point well taken. And by the way, would you conclude that any citizen, if they felt inclined, could report this to the police for further investigation and potential prosecution?
Well, to be frank, no. I think if they reported this to the police department, they would say, what in the hell are we supposed to do?
I would agree regarding that observation, Kent, because it is an unusual issue. I would move that we've already determined that there was an election violation. I would move that we refer this to the Indiana Election Division and then further table any penalty.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll draft a referral for you folks' signature in the next
All
couple of
right.
days.
Would
I'll
appreciate
consult
that. Would
with Mr.
appreciate
Masson
that.
on that.
And then hopefully, as far as we are concerned, that the time dedicated to this matter is limited. Limited. Any other questions, concerns?
Nope.
Items for the meeting to consider? I move to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Why don't we give one to Dave and one to
Yes, I